Hello, Your Honor.
State your name.
Mr.
Tell me your name.
Roy Greenman.
First up, we're in the Orange County Courthouse in Orlando, Florida, where Dale Roy Greenman is in a bond hearing for theft charges. He's accused of stealing a pack of cigarettes, a Bic lighter, and a Gatorade from a 7-Eleven. According to police reports, Greenman walked into the store, placed the items on the counter, then decided to walk out without paying. He faces misdemeanor charges of petty theft. The hearing begins rather cordially.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you tell me your name, please?
Hello, Your Honor.
State your name.
Mr.
Can
Greenman.
you tell me your name?
Roy Greenman.
But Greenman, whose bond is set at $250, listens closely when Judge Carly Wish asks the state if they have a better offer that might get him out of any jail time.
You were arrested for petty theft. Then you find probable cause. Miss Kenny Swanson, did you have an offer?
I did not, Your Honor.
No offer? Is that due to the out-of-state criminal history?
Yes, Your Honor.
Prior to today's hearing, Greenman was charged with tampering with evidence in another case, which potentially elevates his current misdemeanor charge. And Judge Wish is about to break the news.
So, Mr. Greenman, you have prior history out of state, and so the state may enhance this offense to a felony based on your priors. So I can't do anything with your case today. I am going to appoint the public defender for you.
That's horse. You do whatever the you want.
Excuse me?
My name is Mr. Greenman. I'm the federal witness of the United States federal government. I demand some respect, you. Let's get a jail for how long y'all did and figure out what you're
All right,
doing.
he can be removed once y'all get him out.
Now.
Greenman erupts after the judge tells him that the state may raise his charges from a misdemeanor to a felony.
You're not.
That's horse. You do whatever the you want.
Excuse me?
My name is Mr.
Two officials on hand move in swiftly to restrain Greenman. But before they grab his wrists, he rips off his mask and begins shouting that he's a federal witness.
Mr. Greenman, I'm the federal witness of the United States federal government. I demand some respect, you.
Greenman's hauled out of the courtroom and back into custody. Then Judge Wish, seemingly unfazed by the outburst, just carries on with the business of the day without missing a beat.
All right, then. No contact with any victims or witnesses in the case. And I'm going to set his bond at $1,000.
A few moments later, the two officials return to sanitize the podium. Dale Roy Greenman's bond was increased from $250 to $1,000. According to court documents, he was released on reconnaissance a week later, which means he signed a document promising that he'd appear at his next court date. Shocker, Greenman failed to show up at that pretrial hearing, and a warrant was issued for his arrest.
St. John?
Next, we take you inside the Harris County Courthouse in Houston, Texas. It's January 2021. The defendant is David St. John, who's in court for aggravated sexual assault of a child and felony possession of a weapon. St. John took a teenage girl to a hotel, then he allegedly raped her. The 39-year-old already had 6 felony convictions to his name and was out on bond for 3 other charges when the attack occurred. One of his pending charges was possession of the gun that was later used during the alleged assault.
You are charged with the aggravated sexual assault of a child older than 14 but younger than 17.
As the charges are being read, St. John seems a bit shifty. Then, completely unattended, he walks to the front row.
Did you know you left it? 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 Did you know you left it?
St. John repeats the question, did you learn your lesson, before cold-cocking the man. The victim takes off as an officer rushes over and tackles St. John.
Call someone, call someone, call someone.
What was that? Sit down, man. Sit down. You learned your lesson. Hey.
Even as he's being cuffed, St. John continues to offer advice.
You learn your lesson, you don't end up like me. Get up. Get up.
You don't have a panic button.
It's unclear why St. John attacked the man, but as he's escorted out, he makes a final comment.
Don't end up like me.
The victim of the attack seems to walk away unscathed.
Are you okay, Mr. Randall?
Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm fine.
And there were no additional charges brought against St. John. He remained in jail while awaiting his trial.
Don't end up like me.
Next, we're in Albuquerque, New Mexico, for the trial of 42-year-old Monica Youngblood. Today, she's answering to the law, but most days, she's making laws as a New Mexico state representative. The three-term Republican lawmaker is known for being tough on crime.
You haven't had any alcohol, you said? No. All right, Monica, go and jump on out. Is your dog okay to stay in the car?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so go and step on out, all right? And don't move your head as she drives.
After performing a quick eye test, Youngblood's instructed to walk a line, heel to toe.
The first step you take is your number 1 step, okay? Do you understand?
So 1,
Oh, okay, I think you understand. Cool.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Now it's sobriety test number 3.
Okay, can you count backwards from 47 to 32 for me, please, out loud?
47, 46, 5, 33, 32, 31, 30. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right.
Youngblood failed to properly follow the directions and counted down past the number 32.
So what needs to happen now is I need to give you the opportunity to do a breath test, okay? Depending on the results of that breath test is how we go from here, okay? So I need to place you under arrest for DWI. So go and turn around for me and put your hands back. Yes, turn around. Turn around. Put your hands right. Turn around. Put your hands right back. You have had alcohol. I can smell alcohol.
I literally did everything right.
You did do everything right. They're not tests.
I did too.
Stop turning around on me, please. Thank you so much.
After being placed in the back of a squad car, Youngblood continues to plead her case.
You performed the test, but yeah, you did really, really poorly on the test.
Are you kidding me?
No, ma'am. I don't have a reason to joke with you.
I have done everything you asked me to do.
I understand that you
I've done it
complied.
perfectly.
No, you did not.
Perhaps sensing the walls closing in around her, she then touts her record of supporting law enforcement as a legislator.
I literally fight for you guys every.
Well, that doesn't make it okay to drink and drive.
I'm not drinking and driving.
Okay.
Seriously. So many people tell me that you guys treat people like a and I didn't believe it.
I'm not treating you poorly at all.
Youngblood's then taken to a mobile testing unit,
Okay, go ahead and walk forward to the left, please.
where she's asked to take a breathalyzer test.
This way. Listen to me, I'm about to read you something that's important. Right now, you are under arrest for DWI. Monica, could you get to submit to a breath test?
In New Mexico, by refusing the test, the charge will be increased to aggravated DWI, which if convicted carries a mandatory jail sentence. 4 months later, a bench trial begins, and Youngblood presents her defense. She claims the sobriety checkpoint itself was unconstitutional. But that defense doesn't hold up for Judge Kevin Fitzwater, who argues the most telling evidence is right in the video.
The leader strikes me as somebody who either didn't understand the gravity of the situation or whose mental faculties were somewhat impaired.
Youngblood was ultimately found guilty of aggravated DWI. Later at sentencing, she addresses the court.
I am ready to accept those consequences. My actions that evening, while I regret them immensely, they do have consequences, and I am here today to accept them.
Monica Youngblood would receive the mandatory minimum sentence of 48 hours in jail. The judge awarded 1-day time served for the 4 hours she spent in custody the night of the offense. She was also placed on probation for a year, issued 24 hours community service, and an ignition interlock device was installed on her vehicle. This means for the car's ignition to even start, she has to blow into a device and record a legal alcohol content level. Just weeks after being sentenced, Youngblood lost her bid for a 4th term as a New Mexico state representative. Next, we take you to Bond Court in Brevard County, Florida. Judge Ali B. Majid presiding. The defendant is James Rivera. who's charged with possession of a small amount of marijuana and possession of drug paraphernalia, both misdemeanors. Below the judge is the public defender who's representing Rivera.
How old are you?
32 years old, sir.
What type of work you do?
Right now I'm a disabled vet, and I perform music to stay sober-minded and calm and collected, sir.
What type of music you play?
I play country music, sir, hip-hop, and alternative rock.
You play an instrument or you sing?
I sing. I'm an exceptional guitar player, and I play percussion.
You got a favorite country singer?
I gotta say Johnny Cash.
You know his famous song, Ring of Fire?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me hear a few verses. Might help you out.
Oh, man. I've never been so nervous on the spot.
Uh,
In the golden ring. I can't do it right now, sir.
Rivera may be suffering from stage fright, but this judge isn't ready to give up on his Johnny Cash request just yet.
What's your favorite Johnny Cash song?
My favorite, Walk the Line.
All right, let me hear it. Give me a few verses.
I'm too nervous right now, Your Honor.
Judge Majid does not seem impressed with Rivera's performance, and he lets him know he's no man in black.
I don't believe you're a singer. You don't even know any song by Johnny Cash. You want me to tell you a few lines that you're facing right now?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know how to sing any Johnny Cash songs. I just like the music.
Disappointed, Judge Majid goes deep into the Cash catalog to let Rivera know what he's facing.
But right now, you're looking at wholesome prison blues right now.
I get the joke. I like it.
Yeah, you like that, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you look at some wholesome prison blues.
The judge sets Rivera's total bond at $500, but just below him, the public defender has something he wants to say about the disabled veteran.
Your Honor?
Yes.
On behalf of the defense, if I may.
I thought, what, you're going to sing a Johnny Cash song instead?
Oh, Your Honor, that's the last thing you want. I'm a terrible singer. What I was going to ask, Your Honor, is Mr. Rivera is a disabled veteran. Mr. Rivera has extremely minor criminal history. And, Your Honor, in my time as a defense attorney, I have seen countless times that our disabled veterans self-medicate using cannabis. These are people that we sent overseas to defend our freedoms. They come home broken. We don't do anything to help them.
Judge Majid takes the attorney's statement under consideration.
Which branch of the military you served?
Army.
How many years?
I did 2 years active duty as an infantryman. Then I went into reserves.
Well, to you and all the veterans who serve our nation, you know we're very grateful.
I appreciate that.
Your bond 100 and 250.
Even though his song request went unfulfilled, the judge cuts Rivera a break and lowers his bond to $350.
I wish you well.
Yes, sir.
I've been told that the jury's reached a verdict. Is that correct?
Next, we head to Batesville, Mississippi for the verdict in the trial of Quentin Tellis, the 29-year-old's charged with capital murder in the death of Jessica Chambers. Chambers, who was only 19, was doused with gasoline and set on fire in her own car. Tellis admitted being with Chambers the night she was killed and claimed they had a sexual relationship, but he denied any involvement in her death. On the night she was killed, Chambers can be seen on surveillance footage at a gas station. About 90 minutes later, firefighters responded to a call about a burning car. When they arrived, they found Chambers still alive, with burns covering 98% of her body. First responders testified that before being airlifted to the hospital, she told them her attacker was named Eric. She died the next day. Police investigated the Eric lead, but found no suspects with that name. Instead, using cell phone records, they were able to place Tellis and Chambers together just before the attack, and he was charged with capital murder. He pled not guilty, and his attorney focused on the naming of Eric to sow doubt in the state's case.
All right, you bring the jury in, please.
The trial lasted 6 days, and the jury deliberated for 10 hours before reaching a verdict. If convicted, Tellis could be sentenced to death. The trial judge is Gerald Chatham.
I've been told that the jury's reached a verdict. Is that correct? I don't need to know what your verdict was, but I just need to know, did all 12 jurors agree on that verdict?
Yes, sir, we did.
Would you hand the verdict, please, to the court, to the clerk? Excuse me.
We all didn't agree on it.
Sir?
We all didn't agree on it.
Sir?
You said y'all agreed on that verdict. We didn't.
All 12, the verdict has to be unanimous, so all 12 did not agree on the verdict? Is that what you're telling me, sir?
Yeah, I can agree with you.
The courtroom is stunned because the jury must unanimously agree on the verdict, be it guilty or not guilty. So the jury's ordered back to their room to discuss the case further. After 20 agonizing minutes, the jury returns.
Once again, I've been informed that the jury has reached a verdict. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I need to ask you, is it unanimous?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, has that verdict been recorded on a separate sheet of paper?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you pass it to the clerk, please? Would the clerk please read the verdict?
We, the jury, found the defendant, Quentin Verdale Tellis, not guilty of capital murder.
As family members on both sides try to contain their emotions, the prosecution asks that each juror be polled individually just to be sure. This trial is not over yet.
I'm going to ask each one of you if that is your verdict. All right. Ms.
I don't.
Ms.
I don't.
Mr.
Guilty.
Mr.
Guilty.
Wait, what? Confusion remains.
Mr.
Guilty.
It seems that although the jury is claiming its verdict is not guilty, nearly half of them are saying the opposite. And people in the courtroom are taking notice of the situation. So is the prosecutor.
Your Honor, I'm way misunderstanding here.
The judge polls the individual jurors a second time and gets the same results.
I voted guilty.
All right, Mr.
I voted guilty.
It is now clear there is an obvious miscommunication between judge and jury.
I don't know why the verdict was recorded as it was.
Upon further investigation, it was determined the jury confusion stemmed from their instructions, which incorrectly stated a unanimous vote was needed for a guilty verdict only. But the jury had to be unanimous for either verdict. So the judge reiterates the verdict must be unanimous and sends them back a third time to work through their differences.
I'm going to ask you to go back, consider your verdict, deliberate, and please record your verdict accurately, all right?
Both the defendant and victim's family can only wait, frustrated, as the judge and jury attempt to work out the issue. After further deliberation of over an hour, the jury is unable to reach a unanimous verdict. The judge has no choice but to declare a mistrial. Tellis is retried a year later with the same conclusion, a split jury resulting in another mistrial. Prosecutors may decide to try Tellis a third time. He's currently sitting in a Louisiana state prison for an unrelated crime. That's all for this edition of Court Cam. I'm Dan Abrams. Thanks for watching. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Abrams, and this is Court Cam.
Call the buzzer. Call the...
These 4 murders over a 10-day period is one of the worst killing sprees in the history of this state.
First up, we're in Omaha, Nebraska, for the sentencing hearing for Nico Jenkins. The 26-year-old was arrested after reportedly going on a 10-day crime spree that left 4 people dead in 3 separate attacks in the city of Omaha. A notorious criminal figure in Omaha, detectives were not shy about letting Jenkins know how they had him nailed for the alleged crimes.
Do you not realize I got Nico Jenkins? Do you not realize that? I got Nico Jenkins. I got you. What do you mean you got me? I got your DNA at the murder scene. I got your DNA in the car. Sir. I got the weapon. I got Nico Jenkins.
Detectives got something else, too.
And that's why y'all don't even understand how hard this is for me right now. Because I'm betraying my family. Do y'all understand that? I'm literally betraying my family and my bloodline.
You all right?
You right now?
Jenkins claims he recruited numerous family members to help carry out the crimes. Additional arrests that included his sister, uncle, cousin, even his mother. Investigators say the deadly family affair began when Jenkins enlisted his sister and female cousin to lure two men into a park. They robbed them, and Jenkins shot both in the head. Jenkins' uncle was allegedly involved in a carjacking with his nephew that resulted in another murder. And Jenkins' mother picked up charges for accessory to murder for allegedly concealing evidence and purchasing the ammunition used in the murders. Jenkins, who was recently arrested for making terroristic threats, would ultimately confess to the four murders during that police interview.
I'm gonna give you from A to Z. This is not no goose chase. This is the real deal right here.
He later pleaded no contest to 4 counts of first-degree murder and multiple weapons charges and faced either life without parole or the death penalty. Behind bars and awaiting sentencing, Nico Jenkins continued to grab media attention when he used a razor to mutilate his face and attempted to carve the word Satan into his forehead. Now at sentencing, Nico Jenkins arrives in the courtroom with new facial tattoos and visible razor scars on his face. After Jenkins waived his right to a jury trial, a 3-judge panel makes a ruling on Jenkins' sentence for this bench trial.
The defendant's commission of these 4 murders over a 10-day period is one of the worst killing sprees in the history of this state. Each one of these murders was a deliberate and planned act. The victims were pre-selected and the murders were purposeful.
And finally, judgment arrives for Nico Jenkins.
This panel finds that the death penalty is appropriate, should be, and is hereby given for each of the 4 murders by the defendant.
An additional 450 years was also tacked onto his sentence, the result of numerous weapons charges. Nico Jenkins would later appeal his death sentence, but it was rejected by the Nebraska Supreme Court. As for the family members he involved in the crimes, his sister Erica Jenkins was sentenced to life in prison for her involvement in the murders. Cousin Christine Bordeaux, who turned state's evidence and testified against the family, was given 20 years. Uncle Warren Levering received 40 years, and his mother, Lori Jenkins, was given 2 years for accessory charges.
C.C. Ronald Strasser.
We're in Clackamas County Courthouse in Oregon City, Oregon. Ronald Strasser's in court today, facing a charge of trespassing. He has multiple convictions on his record, including criminal trespass, DUI, resisting arrest, and assaulting a safety officer.
The case of C.C. Ronald Strasser.
The hearing starts off awkwardly. The defendant is sitting in the gallery, but for some reason he's not responding to his name being called.
Case number 16CR 51766. This is the time set for an appearance reset. I guess the defendant is not present.
Deputy Daniel O'Keefe steps forward to let the judge know Strasser is present.
Your Honor, he is, sir.
According to news reports, Strasser has a reputation amongst Clackamas County deputies, so perhaps that's why O'Keefe is able to identify the defendant.
Are you Mr. Strasser?
No, I'm not Mr. Strasser, but I am here in regards to that matter.
Oh, okay. Then it'll be a $25,000 warrant.
Pardon me?
A potential $25,000 bench warrant? Well, now the judge seems to have Strasser's attention.
Oh, yes, sir.
The defendant finally stands and lifts his shades briefly as Deputy O'Keefe approaches in an attempt to take him into custody.
There'll be a $25,000 warrant since Mr. Strasser.
He grabs him by his left arm, then takes him to the ground. O'Keefe pins the defendant down. The audio drops out of the recording, but according to the incident report, Deputy O'Keefe says he delivered 10 to 12 strikes onto Strasser's left side and back area in order to gain control of the situation. 4 more deputies rush in to assist in taking Strasser into custody. Strasser was arrested and charged with interfering with a police officer, contempt of court, and resisting arrest. He was held in Clackamas County Jail for 56 days. But the story doesn't end with Strasser's arrest. The Clackamas County Attorney's Office opened a criminal investigation of Deputy Daniel O'Keefe. Another deputy in the Sheriff's Department accused O'Keefe of specifically requesting to be placed in the courtroom because he was hoping for a reason to, quote, beat the out of Strasser. Deputy O'Keefe was ultimately cleared of wrongdoing. As for Ronald Strasser, he was released from custody when prosecutors ultimately decided to dismiss all charges related to the incident. Next, we're in Utica, New York, for the sentencing of 22-year-old Brandon Clark. 2 years earlier, Clark was charged with second-degree murder for the brutal killing of 17-year-old Bianca Devins. After meeting on the internet, Clark and Devins began a friendship and hung out together for several months before traveling to New York City to see a concert. But during the show, Clark allegedly became angry after witnessing Devins kiss another man. After driving back, Clark parked on a dead-end street and pulled out his cell phone.
He set up his cell phone on the dashboard of his car, and he recorded the actual crime.
The disturbing video showed Clark using a knife to kill Bianca Devins inside his car.
And when we all saw that, here in this court, defense counsel, police, we saw her fight desperately for her life. In Your Honor, there was no way that she could have seen it coming, and there was certainly no way that she could overcome the likes of Brandon Clark. And then we watched as he blamed her. Bianca, you made me do this. Well, she didn't. The blame is with you.
Following her murder, Clark took graphic photos of Devins' body and posted them online. He later called 911 to report the murder and his impending suicide.
What are you wearing?
It doesn't matter. I'm going to be dead.
Okay, well, I just want to talk to you, okay?
Yeah, I know you want to. I know how your job works. You have to keep me on the line, but it's not happening, okay?
When police arrived, Clark cut his own neck in front of them and was rushed to the hospital. 7 months after the crime, he would ultimately plead guilty to second-degree murder. The maximum punishment would allow Clark to see a parole board after 25 years, but he could remain in prison for life. Now at sentencing, members of Bianca's family confront her killer.
I'm Olivia Devins. I am Bianca Devins' sister. Last year, I used to have social media, and one day I opened up my Instagram just as any 16-year-old does, except I was traumatized. Many random people set their profile pictures as my sister's death photo, and went on my page, knowing I would without a doubt see it. I am now 17 years old. My life has just begun, but this is when Bianca's was taken.
My entire adult life, I've been Bianca's mom. Without her, I don't know who I am. Brandon Clark has shown that he has no regard for human life. He stole my daughter's life from her and his family for his own selfish reasons that I will never understand. I am haunted every day by the images of my precious daughter being murdered.
Finally, Bianca's grandfather addresses her killer.
I believe that due to the cruelty and callousness of your actions, you, Brandon, should serve the rest of your natural life in prison. This sentence will serve as justice for Bianca.
In the family's emotional pleas, Brandon Clark is walked within feet of Bianca's loved ones and addresses the court.
For almost 2 years now, I've sat in my cell and I've wondered what I'm going to say when it finally comes time for me to speak to the people that I've hurt. And it's never been enough. It's never been adequate. I felt to really convey my emotions and to apologize. How do you meaningfully apologize for doing something so horrible and so irreversible? And I hate myself for what I did to her. I don't know why. I don't understand how I could do something like that. I don't even know who I was that day, and it disgusts me.
Clark's words seem to have little impact on Judge Michael Dwyer, who then delivers the maximum allowable sentence.
You will be sentenced to an indeterminate sentence of imprisonment. It shall have a minimum term of 25 years and a maximum term of life imprisonment.
Brandon Clark will not be eligible for parole until 2046.
right, Nelson Walker. There you are.
Next, we're in Miami-Dade County, where Nelson Walker is charged with a crime where the evidence may be, as they say in the law, in plain view.
All right, you're charged with stealing a Dolphin jersey?
According to authorities, Walker and a friend were at a Miami Dolphins game a day earlier when they attempted to snag a few souvenirs. They reportedly entered an apparel shop, stuffed 2 jerseys and a hat down their pants, then headed for the exit. Police officers caught the duo near the parking lot and charged them with third-degree theft.
All right, you're charged with stealing a Dolphin jersey?
Back in court, Judge Ward seems a bit suspicious of the situation, and when she begins asking Walker about the Dolphins jersey he's wearing, he's got an answer.
This ain't the one, y'all.
No?
No, ma'am. It show on that I ain't took no jersey. I ain't took now jersey.
Walker first insists the Dolphins jersey he's wearing is not the one he allegedly stole.
This ain't the one, y'all.
He then claims he didn't steal a jersey at all.
It show on that I ain't took no jersey. I ain't took now jersey.
The judge then turns to the public defender for his take. But he decides to raise an issue regarding an inconsistency on the police report.
Public defender?
As to Mr. Walker, respectfully, Your Honor, I'm going to be raising a probable cause.
To what?
As to this being a felony. Because the allegations are an observation of observing the defendant and co-defendant put on a Dolphin hats. The officer says A, and then it says hats, so there's an issue as to whether it's 2 hats or 1 hat.
Walker seems on board with the public defender's approach.
The officer says A, and then it says hats, so there's an issue as to whether it's 2 hats or 1 hat.
Despite the semantics issue, the judge orders Walker, who has 29 prior felonies on his record, held on $5,000 bond. Weeks later, Miami-Dade prosecutors declined to press charges against Walker, and he's released. But the judge did order Walker to stay away from the Dolphin Stadium. Perhaps not seeing his beloved team play in person is punishment enough. Next, we take you inside the Champaign County Municipal Courthouse in Urbana, Ohio. There's a group of men sprawled out on the courthouse floor. So how'd they end up there? This is 55-year-old Anthony Hammond. A few minutes earlier, he barged into the courtroom of Judge Gil Weithman, who was in the middle of a case unrelated to Hammond. The disruption was allegedly over a dispute Hammond had with police and the court regarding a property matter. So Judge Weithman first held him in contempt, then asked his bailiff, Carl Bader, and a police officer in the courtroom, Steve Moulton, to remove him, which they did, and which Hammond had a bit of a problem with. There's Hammond in the jacket and fraternal lodge hat. The officer and the bailiff are having trouble restraining the suspect, who removes his jacket. Hammond breaks free when he is flattened by court probation officer Brian Cordial, who's in plain clothes because in this court, probation officers are not required to wear uniforms. Hammond hits the ground hard, and it's a mystery how his hat remains on his head.
You have no authority to touch me. None.
Hammond's arrested and charged with resisting arrest, 2 counts of assault, as well as obstructing official business. He pled not guilty on all counts and was released on his own recognizance. But when he failed to appear at his next court hearing, a warrant was eventually issued for his arrest.
Hey, Mr.
What up,
Hernandez.
Jimmy? What?
Mr. Hernandez.
We're in Fort Lauderdale, Florida for a bond hearing, and the man barking at the judge
Mr. Hernandez.
is 27-year-old Brian Hernandez. Hernandez was arrested and charged with robbery after a police officer witnessed him assault a woman and attempt to steal her purse.
What? What do you want, Judge? You see me? Am I live?
Judge John Hurley's no stranger to contentious bond hearings, so he begins this one with the old one hand washes the other approach.
Mr. Hernandez, if you stay calm, I'll be nice to you, you be nice to me, and we'll get through this hearing, all right?
For a second, it appears Hernandez may take the judge up on his offer, but he doesn't.
Listen, I got one thing to tell you, Judge, and that is that only Jesus Christ can judge me.
Yes,
all right? You judge people as if your tongue is a gavel, and you prosecuted a lot of innocent people that were my brothers and sisters. And you think for 1 second I'm gonna let you do the same to me? You're not even thinking, my friend.
Just, leave him there, but just shut that off.
As Hernandez continues ranting with his microphone shut off, Judge Hurley puts a statement on the record.
This court normally needs to find out somebody's ties to the community, their ability to post bond, but I believe that engaging in that conversation with Mr. Hernandez today would be fruitless.
While Judge Hurley continues, Hernandez attempts to unmute his microphone. First using his hands, and then with his head.
Jimmy, Judge, what are you on?
But the judge keeps moving forward as he breaks down the facts of the case, which will determine his final decision.
You punched a woman in the face. Her purse was on the ground. You allegedly violently grabbed her purse, tried running away with it, but she held on. She suffered injuries to her face and head. The court has great concern for the safety of the community, and noting the level of violence, the court's going to set your bond today at $50,000.
Brian Hernandez later pleaded no contest to robbery, as well as an additional charge of battery that was later added. He was sentenced to 3 years probation, following 225 days already served in jail.
That's it for this edition of Court Cam. I'm Dan Abrams. Thanks for watching.